you all here in person, because this has been a bit of a dream for us to actually convene all these people. So thank you for being here. So I need to know who's in the room first. So if you are from Southern Africa, stand up. Southern Africans, hey, make some noise. Okay, so if you're from East Africa, stand up. Hey, make some noise, East Africa. Are there any North Africans in the house? Yeah, make some noise. You're representing a whole region. Okay. Any Central Africans? Who here is under 35? Fantastic. Good to see you. Good to know. And let's just hear from women. And who here doesn't live in Africa? Stand up. Expats. Someone from Japan, China, America, all kinds of funny places like that. Anyway, all of you, welcome. So my job here today, oh, by the way, I was also going to ask, who's a photographer? Hands up, who's a visual artist? Who's a content creator? Who's a performance artist? Who's a writer? Who's a comedian? Anyway, all of you, welcome. All right, so my job here is really to do two things, is to remind us why we're here, and just to tell you what we can expect in the next couple of days. So, why we're here is because African Filter, we're an organization that works to try and change some of the harmful, stereotypical narratives that still persist about Africa today. And because we know how narratives evolve, through stories told persistently over time, the only way to change a narrative is to change the stories that feed that narrative. And that's why African Filter works with storytellers, with people like you. Because we believe stories matter. Stories influence people. They inspire people. They educate people. Stories can do so much good, but they can also do harm. Because we're all about stories, I want to share a little story, my story. The story of how I came to be standing here today, leading an organization like this. July 1985 was a pivotal year for me. Actually, is the reason why I'm standing here today. I know some of you are like 1985 ancient history. So let me give you a little history lesson. Because 1985, in fact, July 1985, was a year that actually defined Africa for an entire generation of people. The history lesson. 1983 and 1985, there was a devastating famine in Ethiopia that killed over 1 million people. It affected over 7 million people. And at some stage, no one in the world knew about it. A young photographer called Mo Amin, Kenyan photographer, got on a plane and went to Ethiopia and filmed and took pictures for the first time of the devastation this drought had caused. There were images of young children dying, people dying because they had no food. Those images, he sent them across the world. They were on the front pages of all the major newspapers across the world. People had never seen emaciated children dying like this. And it took the world's imagination. It triggered a series of events. And I'm sure some of you, even if you're under 35, will remember this. Pop stars got together in the UK. They penned a song. Do they know it's Christmas time in Africa? Americans, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, they wrote the song. Do they, We Are the World. Oh, thank you guys, you remember. We Are the World. But in July 1985, Bob Geldof got together and brought a bunch of UK artists together in a concert called Live Aid. Live Aid was watched by over 150 million people. Bear in mind, this was 38 years ago. It was seen in 150 countries, and it raised over 140 million US dollars and drew the world's attention to Africa. And it saved lives. It did an amazing job. But it also did a lot of bad. I was in my teens at the time, watching it from my bedroom in the UK. And I remember I was singing, yeah, we need to save Africa. Don't they know there will be no snow in Christmas this time? I actually was watching those images thinking, those Africans, we need to save them. I am an African. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. And I knew those images. There was a moment when I looked, those images, that picture, that story that Live Aid was telling the world was not the Africa that I grew up in. And there was a moment when I realized that there was a huge disconnect between what I consider to be Africa, Africa that I grew up in, and the Africa the world is watching. And that's why I say that that moment actually defined a lot of things that I've done. I wrote a book called Africa's Greatest Entrepreneurs. I did a series called Lifestyles. It was actually called Living It, about lifestyles of wealthy Africans, because I just kept trying to show an alternative side to Africa. Because it wasn't about this single story that Chimamanda has talked about. There was so much more to us. And that brings us to why the theme for this, As We Are. As We Are is a celebration of who we are, just as we are. It's our culture, it's our diversity. We're unapologetically Africans. Because back then, it wasn't cool to be African, but right now, Africa is trendy. It's a bit worrying that we're trendy because trends go down, but right now, it's all good. And that's why we're celebrating Africa, but it's also about us being unapologetic about who we are. You can see that unapologeticness in the music. It's in our films, it's in our food, it's in our fashion, it's in our books. And I feel that we need to celebrate that. We need to remember who we are, and that's what today's all about. So, bring you back quickly to why we're here. We are trying to build a community, not even a community, an army of people who care about how the world sees Africa and how Africa sees itself. And every single one of you is in this room for a reason. Because you're using your skill, your talent, your film, your photography, your book, your content to show the world a different side of the continent. So we want you to continue. And we want to support you because that's what African Filter is here to do. And we can provide support in a couple of ways. We want to amplify your work. We want to network you with each other, which is what this event is really all about. We want to connect you to markets and to opportunities. We want to help skill you up. And we want to give you money. To date, African Filter has given out about $3 million in funding over the last 3 years. And we've got some funders here. But the point is, money isn't, we can't give money to everybody, and money isn't everything. It's all of those other things. It's connections, it's the networks, it's the scaling up. But the important thing is that you are here. So the one thing that we do ask you to do is help us with our advocacy. Our advocacy is all about better representation of Africa. And all we want people to do is to commit to telling better stories and telling stories better about Africa, because we believe we can change the world one story at a time. And before I step off the stage, and we're going to show you a film right now, I want to leave with my favorite African proverb. Until lions learn to write, hunters will tell their stories for them. Let us be the lions that write. Thank you. Thank you.